Well, many of us have heard this saying, fall is for planting, and I assure you this is not simply a nurseryman's plea to get people out to the garden center. Fall is in fact a wonderful time to put new plants in the landscape. And the reason for this is the weather. We start to see cooler days and especially cooler nights, and that helps the plants be less water stressed as they're establishing. And oftentimes the fall brings us a little bit more consistent rains. I'm sure we can all hope for that after this summer. But the really important reason that fall is such a good time to plant is for root establishment. Plants can grow roots as long as the soil temperature is 40 degrees or higher, and that includes much of the winter months. So by putting our plants in during the fall, they have the whole fall season and early spring, as soon as the soil temperatures get above 40 degrees, to actively grow roots. That means next year they go into the summer with a well-established root system. And as the springtime starts to warm, those plants are ready to engage in active growth rather than being shocked from a spring transplant where they're still trying to get those roots out before the heat of the summer comes in. So it really is a wonderful time to plant. And I have a great example here in our edible ornamental landscape showing two different plants that were planted one fall and one spring. Now these are both a southern high bush blueberry, and the cultivar is called Bountiful Blue. And both of them are a little bit stressed from this summer. It's been quite hot for blueberries as well as every other plant. But this one I planted last fall, and over here we have another example of a plant that I put in this spring. And just looking at them, it's very clear the difference. The one that was put in last fall is much better able to handle this summer's drought and heat than this one here, which was just transplanted this spring. I think it's a wonderful visual example of why fall planting is so much better to get our plants off to a good start. Now, one of the troubles we have with fall planting is selection. Now, many nurseries and garden centers are starting to increase their fall stock. So we're starting to see a little bit more selection available. But even if you can't plant the entire landscape, getting whatever's available at the time will be helpful next summer, so you have less plants that you have to kind of baby out there. Another great advantage of visiting the garden center in the fall is that we see plants in bloom that bloom late in the season that we probably overlooked in the spring. Years ago when I worked at a nursery, I had a very hard time selling toad lilies in the spring, but if customers came in the fall, they would fly off the shelves. So visit your garden center and consider replanting those losses you may have had this summer, this fall, with a good fall planting.